Anjali McCormick is the CEO of the Westport Weston Family YMCA. She oversees the entire facility, Bedford Family Center and Camp Mahakano Outdoor Center near Merritt Parkway, exit 41, along with its hundreds of employees and thousands of members. She came to Westport a little over 2 years ago from the Summit Y in New Jersey, smack in the middle of COVID. Now she's helping our Y celebrate its 100th anniversary. Welcome, Anjali, to 06880, the podcast.
Thank you, Dan, for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
Great to have you. So you're not exactly a Y lifer. You've worked in the private sector, but you do have extensive experience with YMCAs. Can you give us the Reader's Digest version of how you ended up running YMCAs, first in New Jersey and now here in Westport? Sure.
The short answer is, so my background is I went to Harvard undergrad and NYU Business School. And as an immigrant, excellence has always been something that's part of my background. And then when I had two kids in New York, was living in New York City, and I was supposed to go back from maternity on September 10th of 2001. I remember calling in that day, and then September 11th happened, and that really changed what I did in terms of work. So I was home with my children for 10 years, and then began to get bored and felt boring. And my local YMCA, the Summit YMCA, was looking for a director of marketing. And so that's where I started. And over the last 10 years, grew in my role as a director of marketing, VP of marketing at different Ys. What really spoke to me about the YMCA work at that time was how it was about community, and that thread still holds through today. And the fact that I could bring a for-profit business background and experience to a nonprofit environment and really help up-level and elevate the programs that we did to serve our community and members better. So when my youngest went to college and I became an empty nester, the opportunity to look for something and to continue to grow in my role and my job became apparent, and that brought me to Westport.
Did they come after you, or did you go after them?
It was a little bit of both. There were a couple of other jobs that I had applied for and had gotten, and so I was certainly, they did come after me. And as I said, now we're in the library. The library was one of the spots that was a selling point for me. I love reading, and this library is absolutely amazing. And I was like, I could belong to a community where they have a library like this.
Did you know much about Westport, and what was the process of figuring out if the town and this Y were good fits for you?
I did not know much about Westport other than it's a vibrant community and was a very artistic community. When I visited, I felt comfortable. I think because I was in the hunt for a couple of other jobs, and people were wanted me, which was very flattering. But I think the richness of the community and the heritage, the diversity, the openness, the open-mindedness, I think, of the community, and its community-mindedness really spoke to me. It was a bit of a feeling, and it was also in my interactions with people that made me said I could fit in here, and I could be a part of the community and make a difference. So it was a little of both.
It's interesting. I've heard that from other guests in other realms.
Yeah.
That there's something they just feel that this is open and inclusive and welcoming.
It is. When you look at really from city government to the different programs, to the different nonprofit organizations that work and how people actually work really well together, all looking to solve common problems and all looking to be a better neighbor to somebody else. That you can't really make that up. It's organic. It's authentic, and that is, I think, what I began to tap into in the 2 or 3 meetings that I went. 2 or 3 visits that I made. I made a couple of mystery shop visits to the Y and sort of to the town and walked around, and I shopped the other towns that I was also looking for jobs in, and it was very different.
Interesting. So you did your due diligence.
Yes.
And you found out that over a decade ago, there was a huge controversy about the Y leaving downtown.
I did indeed. And if I'm not speaking out of line, I think you weren't necessarily a fan, correct?
I did not think the Y should have left downtown at that point.
At that point. And yeah, I mean, I think we've been in our spot now for, I think, almost 10 years. And we're growing by leaps and bounds. So when I actually walked down to the Anthropology the other day, and in this 100th years, we've been going through really our history. It's been fascinating for me to envision the Y we have today in the spot that it was then. So
it was, it was the center of town for a long, long time. And YMCA, people may not even realize it, stands for Young Men's Christian Association.
Yes.
And I would imagine that most members now are not young, perhaps not male, perhaps not Christian. So how do you explain YMCA today to people who ask?
What I say is that the Y's founding is certainly based in its Christian roots, and it's a national organization. So depending on where you go, it is more Christian in certain spots than others. They might start a meeting with a prayer and an invocation. In the Northeast, we're much more secular. And a good Jewish friend of mine actually said that he sees the C as in community. So Young Men's, maybe not the Young Men's Christian Association, but really the C speaks, instead of the Christian, it speaks to community. And that's really what we are here. We have Y values of honesty, caring, respect, and responsibility. And those are really universal values, no matter what religion or what faith background you come from. So if we can think about incorporating those into our daily interactions with human beings, with our friends and neighbors, or our enemies, it really makes for a much more meaningful environment and meaningful experience. And so my goal as the leader and the steward of the Y in this 100th year is to really make sure that we come across and we come across as being inclusive and welcoming and open, and where there is disagreement, we have conversation and really try and solve collaboratively and with an open heart and mind.
I want to get to the 100th anniversary in a bit, but maybe you should change YMCA to Y'all Members Community Association.
We certainly could, but interestingly enough, I just looked at the numbers. We are 53% male and 47% female. So for the moment, we still skew a little male. But really, the Y, I think in 2008, the Y rebranded from YMCA, and if you'll notice, the national logo is a Y with the MCA in small, and it really sort of was looking to modernize how people thought of the organization, and so
the world changes.
The world changes.
So the Y today, the Bedford Center, Mahakano Outdoor Center, what are your favorite parts of it? Our Y is really spectacular. And having been at
visited many across the country and come from a pretty special Y. It's what the trustees and this community has, and what I literally am a steward of, is a special place. Do I have a I love our Camp Mahakano. The outdoors it's so special, so wonderful. Different parts where kids can come and be themselves, and counselors can be excellent role models, and parents feel they can drop their kids off in a safe environment. So I love the outdoor center, and I like being outdoors. I'm in the building probably a little bit more than I need to be, but I love the outdoor center. The Bedford Family Center is amazing as well. But really, if I think about the YMCA, and I play pickleball outdoors, which is why I like it in the summer. YMCAs are all about little communities. So we're a big community, but then we're little micro communities. And, For example, the Aqua Fitness community, or the Parkinson's group. They're about 30 or 40 people that meet twice a week, and they'll do their classes, and they come sit in our lobby and then just socialize and connect and be friends outside of their other lives. Today's world is where we are battling an epidemic of isolation and loneliness. And what brings me great joy, and where I feel so passionate and purposeful, is that I can be this person that helps people find connection and community. And again, community, I'm overusing it maybe, but I really mean connection and belonging, and people can have relationships. COVID was really, it was this moment in time where it really brought to the fore with social media, and, everybody's on their phones, and people have begun to forget about interacting with human beings. And our Y is one of the few places, the library is one of the other places, where people can meet and form bonds and have friendships. So important to having a full and purposeful and wonderful life. And I'm grateful to be able to play a small part in making that happen for so many people. We have a little over 12,000 members, and we're getting to our P&Z imposed cap, which is going to be a separate conversation. But it's so nice to be able to bring people together. Whether it's the water rat community,
Sure.
which is the swim team, or the gymnastics community. We have a very avid group of lunchtime basketball players, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You try and cut short that hour, and there's chaos and pandemonium. It's really people finding like-minded,
You see the same people in the locker room at the same time.
Exactly.
Improvement. No place is perfect. What does the Y need to do differently or better?
So since I've come, and one of the things this community demands, and sort of aligned with my personal philosophy, was excellence. And so really over the last 2 years, we've been working very hard to up-level all our programming, whether it's in the swim team or the gymnastics team, or just general cleanliness within the facility. Making sure our group fitness classes start on time, that they're actually classes that people want, and as opposed to things that have existed. So my team and I have a terrific team that has taken a couple of years to build. We're all on the same page in terms of how can we make sure the programs and services we provide are worthy of this community, are excellent. People feel they have value when they walk through our doors, and that they feel valued. So if you're going to give us your money, whether we want to make sure that you have a good, meaningful, happy, positive experience. So again, it's I come from an operations background, so continuous improvement is always, as I walk around, is always something that I have an eye on. We take member feedback seriously. Some things we can fix easily. Some things take a little bit more time.
Can you give an example of something that a member said that you were able to act on or implement?
Sure. So, for example, in our gym, we have, and everybody is very interested in pickleball. We had 2 pickleball courts, but we have 3 lovely windows that overlook the pool. The lights from the pool blind you when you're playing pickleball. So we ended up investing money in putting blinds that are mechanized, that when people play, come down, so that makes for just a much more pleasant experience. We're also lining the gym right now. The gym is closed, so that for a 3rd pickleball court, because once the fall comes, it's pickleball mania. Actually, it's pickleball mania at all times, but for us, the gym is used then.
Sure.
Yeah, so that's just a small example. Yeah. It took us some, because those blinds are not cheap.
Right.
But it's important, and we want to make sure that when you come, you feel heard and valued, and where we can make change, we're going to do that.
And the pickleball people have voices.
They do.
100 years.
Yes.
Remarkable.
It's remarkable.
What, the first 98 were without you.
Yeah.
So how did you learn about it? What have you learned? What does it mean to be celebrating the 100th anniversary this year?
It's quite remarkable. And I guess the history of the Y here is such that, again, the Y was founded based on community by E.T. Bedford to make sure that this community of men and boys had some place to go and that they weren't being hooligans on the street. It was at the time of Prohibition.
The story is that he was standing outside watching people play pool, and Mr. Bedford, decided that he wanted a place for kids to be able to hang out. Is that right?
Exactly, that is right. And so he ended up buying this beautiful building on the corner of Main and Post Road.
Which had been a hotel, the Westport Hotel.
Yeah. And that's where it started. And from there, again, the Y has really been on the forefront of some key trends. Camp was one of those. During the summer, a place for boys so that they were active. Right now it's the same concept. I don't want kids on screens. I don't want them watching TV, and just lounging around. So our camp is active. It gives parents a place for their kids to go so that they can work, and our kids to be active and engaged and creating relationship and forming bonds and learning new stuff. So camp is something that has been important. Childcare, when women began to work, the YMCAs were one of the first places that started providing childcare. So again, it's always evolving solutions to some community problems. Group fitness, again, YMCAs began to be a space where as exercise and got more and more in the public realm, how could we provide that as a solution? Youth sports, again, the YMCA historically, really got their hands around that trend. So that's a little bit where we have gone, and the beautiful thing about a community organization is it's always evolving and growing. So the problems of yesteryear may not be what you need to solve for today. And so as we look with an eye to the future, the question is going to be, how do we continue to serve this community and other communities in a way that's meaningful? We have a couple of board committees that are evaluating what could that look like, and where do we need to go? So there's going to be more to follow as we...
Some hints?
No hints as of yet, but again, really, we're going through an exercise to see on our campus, can we optimize the campus in any other way? I know there are questions about the Red Barn, and we have a committee actively looking at what exactly we could do with that property. We've got some terrific ideas, and are just vetting some of the things we need to do before we go more public with our community. And then really, if we're limited by the size of our membership cap, the question always is, should we be looking elsewhere outside of our campus, our 30-acre campus, to provide services to our community? And so those are all things we have on the horizon and that we're actually actively exploring. So it's an exciting time to be leading the Y. As I mentioned, we're going to be at 12,500 members very soon. And so what does that mean for this community?
Sure.
Yeah.
And that cap was imposed by the Planning and Zoning Commission when approval was granted for
That's correct. Initially, the membership was at 10,000, and then it was increased to 12,500, I believe, in 2017. If you've been to the parking lot, it's sometimes difficult to find a space because we are certainly we're getting to capacity, and so
And people keep circling the lot, trying to park as close as they can so they can work out.
That's the irony of it all.
Here's a little Y fact that you may not know. During World War II, when Staples High School was at what is now Saugatuck Elementary School on Riverside Avenue, the boys would walk down to the Y and use the pool to practice jumping out of ships into the water.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
So coming up on October 6th is the 100th anniversary Sneaker Gala.
It is.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, we're very excited to honor the past and celebrate the future. That's going to be that is our theme. We want to showcase the property. A lot of people have not been to the Y and have not seen the renovated Mahakano. That was renovated a couple of years ago, so we're going to have a big tent. It's going to be, actually, you're going to be one of our MCs. Thank you.
I will be an MC with Jeremy Schaap. ESPN.
ESPN. Both of you are members, active members, actually. So that was, again, meaningful to us. And we are going to have come dressed in your fancy clothes, but wear comfortable sneakers and fancy sneakers if you want. And it's going to be a really fun party where we really celebrate the Y and, are poised then to take on the next 100 years.
Next 100 years?
Yep.
Or the next 10? You talked about it a little bit. Besides the Red Barn property and anything else, what's your goal 10 years from now, 100 years from now? What do you want the Y to look like and be like?
That's a good question. I guess the purpose of the Y will remain the same, this vibrant intergenerational community space. While programming might change, really to be, my hope for the Y is that it's going to be this place where they have excellent, meaningful programs, where we continue to teach life skills, relationship building skills, because you can learn history or geography, but how do you interact with people and how do you get stuff done is all about people skills. And the YMCA, in its many programs for kids, adults, and because of the health and wellness aspect, body, mind, and spirit, really, I feel, preps people to be their better self when they go out beyond our campus. So it's sort of just a very, it's more a holistic general response, because I don't know where the future leaders of the Y will do. But we will have always, for this Y, great programs and services that serve the community in a meaningful way.
Great. Just a couple of final quick questions.
Yes.
What is the most interesting fact about the Westport YMCA that most people don't know?
The most interesting fact? that we are a nonprofit and that we give away a lot of money to make our Y accessible to all. So we have close to 700 individuals who come to our Y on scholarship so that they can work out, as well as so they can be part of our programs, whether it's on the swim team or in the aqua fitness program, in gymnastics. So that, for me, I don't think a lot of people know that. And we fund that from donations, and then we fund that from certainly from some of our operations. So,
including the sneaker gala, right?
Including the sneaker gala. So, for example, the 3 programs we're really going to be asking people to raise their paddle for a camp. We have, I think this year we had 42 kids that were on scholarship. Many of them, their parents work, and because they can work, because they go to work, they can provide for their family, and having a safe place and a vibrant place for their children to come is important. Swim lessons. We're a waterfront community. The YMCA was at the forefront of group swim lessons in the early 1920s. And so it's wonderful to be able to be a place where we can continue to teach children and adults how to swim. And so that's one of the things we do well and we're proud of. And then childcare, again, to allow working parents a place where their kids can grow. So that's where a lot of scholarship goes to, and what we'll be raising money for on October 6th.
So the head of the National YMCA, if there is such a thing.
There is.
Okay. He or she comes to Westport.
Yes.
Very busy person.
Yes.
You've only got time to show that person 3 things. What would you show?
I would show them our aqua fitness program. It's very senior oriented, but actually, if I went to a class, and when you're doing this with weights in the water for a few minutes, you feel your muscles. That is one of the most special things about our Y. 20 or 25 people in the water and get great exercise, and they form this fantastic little group that meets on Fridays for breakfast. And it's a potluck breakfast, and the bonds and relationships they've created are just remarkable. We have this great documentary as well that was award-winning, that was conceived by people in the group. It's called Below Surface. Terrific. The second program I would show case would be our camp. Really, camp is special. And the third I would talk to you about is, again, healthy living is the Parkinson's program. Again, for me, it provides an opportunity for people to be healthy physically, but again, the social aspect of it, the sitting in the lobby afterwards. We have volunteers who will, we have a boxing for Parkinson's who will hold the pads up so that Parkinson's participants can get active and strong and be more coordinated. So special to bring volunteers and people who need to be more healthy. So those are 3 things that I think are pretty cool.
Great. So that's the YMCA.
Yes.
Last question.
Yes.
Anjali McCormick, this has nothing to do with the YMCA. You leave the Y. What's your go-to spot in Westport?
I love the beach. I find the water so energizing, but at the same time so calming. So that for me is, I'll go park my car and take a walk or just sit on a bench. It clears the head. It's lovely.
Great. Awesome.
Thank you.
100 years of the YMCA, 2 years of Anjali McCormick, CEO of the Westport Weston Family Not Young Men's Christian Association. Thanks for being on 06880, the podcast.
It was my pleasure, and thank you for your time, Dan.
See you on October 6th.
Okay.